am here today with Ella DuFrene in Asheville, an amazing new friend of mine and entrepreneur who I actually met in Costa Rica, but we'll tell you more about that in a minute. For now, Ella, thanks so much for being with us. I'm really excited to interview you, and you just look so artistic and hip.
Oh, thank you, Megan. Yeah, I'm super excited to be part of this interview with you, and I look forward to diving in.
You are an art therapist, and I hear that and I'm like, that is awesome. But I remember when I first heard that, I was like, it's awesome, and I don't really know what that means. So, for people watching, what is art therapy?
Yes, it's not a very common form of therapy, even though I think it should be. So, art therapy is basically a form of psychotherapy. It's a master's level profession that basically involves using art as a form of communication and self expression. And the reason why I say I think that it should be so known and so popular and everyone should know about art therapy is because I think it's our most primitive form of communication and self expression. If you want to know anything about humans, about our history, about our story, you have to look at the arts. And it's not just in the visual arts, it's in culinary arts, dance, movement, music, architecture, literature. I mean, we are innate creators, and everything that we see around us is an art. Our imagination is what has brought us to where we are now. So basically, art therapy is just like psychotherapy. It's very similar in the sense that we do use talk, we do use verbal and words to express ourselves as well, but we have that added outlet, which is self-expression. So that could be painting, sculpting, drawing. I actually do love incorporating dance and movement into my practice as well,
Woot woot.
which would incorporate the expressive therapies, right? Music therapy, dance, art. Although I'm not a dance therapist, but yeah, so it's exploring the symbols and the metaphors within our artwork. As art therapists, we believe that art has a way of tapping into our unconscious. And so through the creative process, we can gain insight and deeper understanding of who we are.
I can imagine that your work has never been more important than in the last 2 years. Of course, I know that it's always been important, and there's been a lot going on that people need to express. So tell me, what's the most inspiring, or what is the thing that's inspiring you to do this work now at this moment in time?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the pandemic has definitely been a huge motivation for me. It actually has changed my approach in my therapy and in my offerings. Ever since the pandemic, I went totally virtual. First of all, I stopped working in hospitals and in clinics, and I went full entrepreneur mode. So I basically just went full force on my business. So I started offering the services online, which made it more accessible to people. And I also started to cater my services to people who were struggling with anxiety and stress, because when I was looking around me, that was the main concern that I was seeing, is that all this uncertainty was just causing an extreme amount of stress and anxiety in people. And so I started to really focus my business on mindfulness, stress relief, relaxation, and utilizing art as a way to help people to access their rest and digest. That's the parasympathetic part of our nervous system that helps us to relax and calm down, and to give people the tools to be able to do these things on their own. I'm trained as a yoga teacher, which also has a big influence on my practice. I teach people breathing exercises. So perhaps we'll do like a breath painting. I teach people about meditation. I teach people about mindfulness. And of course, along with all of that, I'm incorporating the creative process. So tapping into our inner child, our inner creative wisdom, and playing, right? Because we need to play. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. And I get that sometimes you hear the word therapy and it's like, oh, this has to be used for healing or trauma. But as you're describing it, I'm saying, wow, who couldn't use some art therapy like in their life? Even people that are like, I'm totally, emotionally stable and I'm good. Everyone has stress. And I would argue that everyone could do with an extra dose of play and joy and relaxation in their life.
Yes, and that's a good point. I'm glad that you brought that up because there is no artistic skill required to engage or to benefit our process. I'm sorry, about the product, it's about the process. So you don't
Mhm.
have to be an artist in order to reap the benefits of art therapy. I think, one of the most, I think the easiest way to understand the benefits of art therapy from the standpoint of someone who isn't an artist is that art making creativity in itself helps us to get into flow states, and that is where we're completely immersed in the activity that we're in. We lose track of time. I'm sure that our listeners have experienced this at some point or another in their lives, and this is the time when the heart rate really slows down, the body goes into the rest and repair, and things happen in the brain. I'm not a neurologist, so I won't I won't talk too much about that, but I know science has proven that entering flow states is uh, very important for our mental health and for our well-being.
Nice. Well, I want to talk about how we met next. And given that this is a interview series that's meant to support entrepreneurs, I think that people hearing about how we met and what we do could be helpful. And then I want to ask you some more questions about your entrepreneurial journey and, tips and advice that you would have given your younger self, which I feel like
Sure.
is ripe for, advice for all of us entrepreneurs. So, for those of you watching, Ella and I met because we got to be roommates at this amazing master's retreat in Costa Rica at a place called the Imaloa Institute. And every year, Imaloa has out seasoned retreat leaders to essentially wine and dine, but it's an Ayurvedic vegan retreat center, so there's absolutely no wine that happens, but like green juice
Good
and
point.
dine. Let's say that. And we got to know each other, and I was so intrigued by the retreats that you run. So can you tell our viewers about these retreats that you lead every year?
Sure. I feel like I have to start from the beginning and I have to tell the whole story of how it kind of happened in order to explain what the retreats are about. It really all started probably like 10 years ago. I started going to this place called the Hostel in the Forest in Brunswick, Georgia. And it's been around for over 4 years now. And it's basically kind of like an eco village. Some people think it's like a hippie community where it is a little hippie. But there's a garden, there's a glass house where you can do yoga, meditation, tree houses, a labyrinth. It's just this very spiritual place where I think young people come to find themselves. And that's what I was doing 10 years ago in my early 20s. I was there trying to find myself and living in this community and eating vegetarian meals that we cooked together and ate together. And, it triggered something and it really changed my life. It really changed my life. I realized that I was craving that all along, that I was craving this sense of community, this sense of sharing, being able to live with the earth. And so that's really where the wheels started turning, is when I started to go to this place and work trade there. So I would go and I would stay for a week or two and I'd be on staff. The staff is constantly changing. So it's a very special place. And so as I was going to do my master's in art therapy, I actually was work trading there and there was a retreat going on. And I was asked to rake the labyrinth for the retreat. And I was also asked to do some art therapy workshops there, which, happily I did because I was actually still a student at the time. So it was, a way for me to practice. And I raked this labyrinth for probably about 12 hours, 6 hours for 2 days. And when I got to the middle of the labyrinth, I had a vision. And I realized that I needed to open a retreat center. Of course, I didn't have any money and I had no resources, at the time to open my own retreat center. So I said, okay, I need to do retreats at other people's retreat centers. And at the same time, I was going through a major burnout and, and major depression. About Actually, I was an art therapist. I had just become an art therapist at that time. Excuse me, I correct myself. I had just become an art therapist and I was going through burnout within my first year. I was working at an eating disorder clinic, drug addiction rehab center, homeless shelter, hospice, and I was running a private practice. So,
A lot.
that's a perfect recipe for burnout. And so going to the hostel was kind of how I would ground myself. So that's how it all came together. Was me going through burnout, realizing I needed to open a retreat center. I needed to create this space because other people were probably going through the same thing that I was going through, which of course they are. And so I dropped everything. I quit all my jobs, all my contracts, and I moved to an organic farm hostel in the jungle in Colombia. And that is where my retreat started, my Madre Tierra creative arts and yoga retreats, where I brought people into the jungle to reconnect with the earth, reconnect with their creativity, to be pampered, of course, have meals prepared for them, and just really get grounded and get centered. And so that's kind of how it all started. I had no idea what I was doing, aside from the fact that I was an art therapist and I had experienced, a lot of group setting work while getting my master's, working, with my peers and with my teachers. And so I did have experience running groups, but I had no experience running a retreat business. But yeah, that's the story.
Wow, amazing. And now you have a retreat in Colombia, you have a retreat in Costa Rica, and it is what you say, people getting to reconnect to their creativity, lower their stress levels, get pampered, spend time in nature. Did I miss anything?
Yeah, reconnect with the earth, reconnect with the wild, adventurous, playful part of ourselves that kind of dies when we get caught up in the hustle and bustle
Hmm.
of daily life. And so really helping people to reconnect with that inner spark, that inner light, that playfulness, and to be able to bring that back with them
Hmm.
to wherever they are, right? Because not everyone has the opportunity to drop everything and move to the jungle for eight
Yeah.
months.
Yeah. Fair enough, unfortunately.
Unfortunately. So, and I now, nowadays I wouldn't be able to do that either, but, yeah. So giving people those tools and then just helping them to remember. And so
Hmm.
once you can remember and when you can go back, you can usually, take those things with you and bring them back into your daily life. And you probably need one like every year, every 6 months just to reboot,
Totally.
you know? But
Yes.
yeah.
Oh man, I hear that. Um, so if we talk about your business superpowers, a lot of people out there want to start a business or are in the early phases of starting a business or they want to start retreats. And I find that there's no one right way to do it, but it does come down to, but each entrepreneur has their own way that they found success and their own strengths that they play into. What are your business superpowers?
I think my business superpower is that I am very hard headed and I'm very stubborn.
Tell us
I
more.
think I think that is my superpower because, like I said, I had no idea what I was doing when I started my business. I went to art school and I went to art therapy school. I never went to entrepreneurship school, marketing school, or business school, right? No one ever taught me how to run a business. But I think that combined with the fact that I'm also probably like a pretty terrible employee. I mean, my past employers would probably say that's not true. Some of them would say that's true. I'm not very good at just following protocol, especially if they don't make sense. I like doing things on my own terms. I like doing things my way. I work well with other people, but that can also be a struggle sometimes. You know, there's a control thing there that I'm still working out. But I would say my superpower is my determination, my stubbornness, the fact that I do not give up. I don't give up. And if I have my mind set on something, it's going to happen, even if it takes me 5 years, 3 years, 10 years. You know, the retreat center, I still don't have my retreat center, right? It's been 6 years since I had that vision, but I am still working on it.
Yeah.
It will happen. It will happen. So I don't know. Does that answer? Is that a superpower?
Oh, it totally is a superpower. Can you
Okay.
take us into a specific moment when your stubbornness really paid off?
Oh, I think it's every day, you know. I
Yeah.
think it's every day because honestly, it can be so discouraging to be an entrepreneur because it's like a nonstop, you know, and you just, whether you feel like it or not, you have to keep going. And I have been able to find the balance where I say, okay, I'm on the verge of burning out. Let me take a break. So I have a good balance with that. But yeah, I mean, that little voice in your head that says, well, what if, what if you fail? What if actually you're not good? What if you're not as good as you think you are? You
Hmm.
know, that little voice inside is there. I don't know if it's there every day, maybe for a split second. I would say at least a split second every day. You question yourself and your abilities, you
Yeah.
know. And I don't know if that's true for every success, every business owner or every entrepreneur. But for me, it's like, it's there. And my stubbornness and my just to
Yeah.
keep going, you know.
I love that you're normalizing it because I think no matter how big you get in business, you always question yourself. I think, and I mean, we can't speak for everyone, but that's true for you. I know it's true for me. This is my, third year making six figures through my business, and I still question myself every week. And it's just a matter of being willing to show up because that's the one thing all successful entrepreneurs have in common is that they show the fuck up.
Yeah. Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. Absolutely. Showing up, waking up every day and being like, all right, I know that little inner voice is there, but I don't have time for you right now. I got shit to do. Like you're gonna need to go away.
Or you can
Go,
hang out
I
in the back
hear
seat,
you.
but you're certainly not going to drive.
Right, right. And I hear you, I hear it's that fear,
Hmm.
and then of course as an entrepreneur, like just today, I did this series for like some pastors. It was 12 people. It was a 4-week series, like
Wow.
a self-care series. And out of the 12 people that participated, I think 8 people gave me stars, 2 people gave me or 3 people 4, and then one person wrote like a really like it was actually mean,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
No depth, like this person, whatever, and that hurt. And boom, there goes there
Yeah.
goes the critical inner mind, like, you see, oh, maybe you're not that good, maybe this and that, maybe this, and then starting to question yourself. And
Mhm.
so yeah, I think that the power, the strength to say, to rationalize too, to be like, well, not everyone is going to like you, not everyone is going to like your business. Take it as a, with a grain of salt, but also what can you improve,
Yep.
and that's it. You keep going.
You keep
You
going.
keep going. That's it.
Absolutely.
Because if you take
Absolutely.
every criticism and then it stops you, I even had a vision of myself 20 years from now. I was like, Ella, but if you listen to all of this and you let that stop you, you're going to look back 20 years from now and say, I let
Mm.
other people's judgments and criticisms stop me from doing what I loved.
Yeah. And what 9 out of 10 people thought was pretty damn
True.
good. Pretty damn good to excellent.
Right, right. But even a small thing like that can, and it, when you're young, when you're a kid, a small thing like that can
Oh yeah.
stop you in your tracks.
I mean, even as an adult, like I recently had the same situation where we were trying this new program, and after the first, I think there were 30 people involved, and after the first call, the only one person that sent us an email was someone that did not like it. And then you're like, oh, did other people really not like it? And like, what, like, did we do this wrong? And it really took a lot of like inner calming and self-soothing to be like, okay,
Yeah.
it's not unnormal. What's the abnormal for the one person that doesn't like it to be the loudest. And if we can just normalize that and be like, there's always someone that won't like it and move forward. But it does take so much like self-care and
Absolutely.
self-compassion to get through those.
It does, yeah.
This segues perfectly into the next question, which was when you first started your business, let's say in the first year or two, what was the most challenging part about being an entrepreneur?
Huh. What was the most challenging part? Well, overall, not having any marketing education whatsoever was
Mm,
definitely challenging. Um, I think believing in myself was the most challenging part.
mm,
Was, yeah, was believing that I could actually do this.
yeah.
And I think that goes back, yeah, exactly to what we were saying. It's like that that fear that I was gonna fail.
Yeah.
Fear of failure. There you have it, folks.
Yeah, because especially when you're starting, you don't have that much evidence that you will succeed.
Exactly. Exactly. There wasn't that much evidence that I would succeed. And yeah, there was none at all. I had no experience of running my own business. And so, yeah, believing in myself and the fear of failure was definitely the biggest challenge, was moving through that and allowing myself space to grow and allowing myself to not be the best. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, and that's okay. Like, we're growing, we're learning, we're always constantly getting better,
Hmm.
you know? And so accepting my failures, like
Yeah.
accepting them, because I fail and I fail all the time,
Hmm.
I don't know who says it. If you're not failing, you're doing something wrong.
Yeah. Right, exactly. So how did you like how else did you get through that? How did you take care of yourself and what did you do to grow through it?
I did look for support.
Mm,
I looked into my network, I looked around, and I looked for resources and I asked for help.
mm,
You know, I got a business coach. I've had multiple business coaches. I've had mentors. I talked to people. I reached out to people and I asked them, how do you do this? How did you do it? I went to therapy. I got a therapist. I think I would not be where I am today, and I still have way more room for growth. Let's just
yeah.
get that straight. Um, but I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for my mentors and my coaches and the people that kept me and held me accountable,
Mm,
and that rooted for me along the way. Even my family and my friends that supported me,
yeah.
that came to my first retreats or my second retreats when it was just the beginning,
Yeah.
you know. And then yeah, just doing it over and over again, I think also is what kept me going. Is
Mm,
just do it, Nike, like just keep doing it.
yeah.
But overall I would say support system, yeah, network.
I'm right there with you. And so how about now, entrepreneurship in the last year for you? What's been the most challenging piece of it?
I think one of the most challenging pieces has been being the face of my business,
Hmm.
and social media. Like, how much or how little do I want to show of myself? And, how much do I want to disclose, I guess? And because it's a very vulnerable thing to be
Oh,
the face
yeah.
of your business, right? It took me a long time for me to even show my face on my business page. I wanted to be, if you go like to the beginning of my Instagram, I don't show myself. I
Huh.
was very reserved about that, which is very funny and interesting because I used to do theater and dance. So I was a performer,
Hmm.
I love being in the spotlight. But there was something about the vulnerability of being on social media.
Mm.
And so yeah, I think that's the most challenging part for me, is that constant, like, having to show up, and the constant, like, content creation. And sometimes I just want to be a hermit and I don't want to be on social media for a
Yeah.
month. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? It does take a toll on your mental health,
Mm.
being on social media so much. And so I'm very mindful of that. And it's just finding the balance. But that has been challenging for me,
Yeah.
which most people probably would not guess that, because I I don't know. I think I come off as like a charismatic person that likes to, I don't know, be in the forefront. But yeah, I'm a little shy,
Yeah.
surprisingly.
So how have you been working through that as you've been building this amazing business of yours?
Taking breaks,
Mhm.
taking social media breaks, like being off of it for 3 days, 4 days at a time, and then seeing it as an extension of my art, seeing it as a craft,
Mm.
and being creative with it and being playful with it, remembering my intention and remembering my mission, going back to that whenever I feel like I'm tired of it,
Yeah.
remembering why I'm doing this, that it's not just for a show, it's not just a performance, I'm helping people, so that helps me to overcome the challenge of, the presence, the social media presence, that's kind of just like a constant, right? You have to like keep up with it. So yeah, just balancing, taking days off, and then reframing my the way that I think about it, you know
Yeah.
um
You can take
yeah.
social media breaks. There's not one right way to run a business. And, you can let your followers miss you a little bit. Like absence makes
Yeah,
the heart grow fonder sometimes, right? So I love that you're presenting that as I do this, it's okay. My business is still working. It's not necessary.
right, right.
Let's talk about the most valuable tools and systems you have in your business. This is something that a lot of entrepreneurs love to geek out about because a good tool or a good system really can make business so much easier and more fun. What are those for you?
Well, number one, Google Cow. If it's not in the Google Cow, it's not happening.
What is
Are you
Google
talking about
Cow?
Google Calendar?
Oh, Google Calendar. Got it.
Are
I'm
you
not
scared
I'm
me
not
for a second?
cool
I'm
enough
like,
to know the lingo, Ella.
that's how it shows up on when you look at it on the computer.
Yeah.
They abbreviate it. Google Calendar is my
Mm,
number one tool. I
nice.
wake up. Usually I try to do my morning practice, but I wake up and I have to look at my Google Cal before I can do anything. Like
Yeah.
I would be anxious if I couldn't look at it.
Mm,
So everything is on there. I used to be one of those people that writes everything down in an agenda, and I
mhm.
thought I would never ever change that. But I don't know, my agenda, outdated itself last year, and I never got a new one.
Yeah.
And so I'm just full Google Cal. If someone makes a meeting with me, send me an invite. Otherwise, it's not happening.
Mm,
So,
totally.
yeah, that's been a great tool. That was the question, right? Like business
Yes.
tools that we
Tools.
use.
Mhm.
Yeah, let's see. What else do I use? Huh, I probably should have thought about this. Um, there is a Asana. It's
Mhm.
I use that sometimes for my retreats if I'm doing with multiple people, if I'm having like a group with multiple people involved to kind of keep the tabs, especially like working with retreat centers. We use apps like that, like Asana. I think there's a couple other ones. Um, let's see. Yeah, the iPhone.
Totally. Never underestimate
iPhone
iPhones.
iPhone 12, you know. I bought this cool ring light thing that I've been using a lot. Yeah, the iPhone 12 is great, is a great tool. I don't know. I don't know if I use that many other apps. I do use like editing app like Photoshop and you know, kind of the Illustrator, the video editing thing, which I'm actually getting better at now, making
Nice.
videos. There's a bunch of cool stuff on the iPhone that you can download, Instagram and stuff like that. Oh, Canva. I use
Mhm.
Canva a lot for
Yes.
marketing, for making my flyers and stuff like that. Yeah. Gosh, I'm sure there's more, and I'm just like not even thinking about it because we use so much technology.
Yeah. I mean, I love that
Yeah.
you're underlying the basics. Like, my iPhone is probably one of my favorite business tools. It's the way I take great pictures. I can edit pictures on it. I can make movies on it. Like, makes life pretty easy. And yes, Google
Yeah.
Calendar. I've never used Asana, but I've heard good things about Asana. And Canva, I use it to use the welcome packets for my retreats. I use it to make graphics for social media. It's just a great go-to, and I train my virtual assistants in it so that they can use it. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I say the iPhone too because for a long time I was like, I don't want to invest. It's no, it's too expensive.
Hmm.
Don't do it to yourself. Just get the iPhone 12, 13, 15, whatever it is. It's worth it.
Man, hope that an iPhone advertisement pops up right in the middle of this. Like, that would be so
I
great.
want payment for this
Right?
advertisement.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ella, for being here and chatting with us about your business, your systems, your wisdom, and especially the value of being like stubborn, persistent, and gritty. Can't underscore that enough. It's been really fun to chat with you.
Thank you, Megan. It's been great. I love these conversations. So keep me posted for anything else that you have coming up.
Yeah.